Have you ever watched someone give up everything they ever wanted and felt like that was the bravest thing you'd ever witnessed in your life? Not the hero who grabs the sword and charges into battle, not the epic speech with the music swelling in the background. It's the opposite of all that. It's the moment when the most ambitious man in the story drops his ambition on the floor without a sound and chooses his brother. That's exactly what the scene between Daemon and Viserys in episode 8 does to you. House of the Dragon spent 7 full episodes building Daemon Targaryen as the man who wanted the crown above everything else. From the very first episode, he's already sitting on the Iron Throne like it belongs to him by right. Arrogant, calculating, dangerous. The prince the king never wanted to name heir, but who everyone knew desired the throne with every fiber of his being. And then, in a packed throne room, with his brother's crown lying on the floor, Daemon picks it up and places it back on Viserys' head. That gesture lasts seconds. There's no dialogue, no dramatic music building the moment. It's just Matt Smith crouching down, picking up the crown, and carefully placing it on a brother who can barely hold himself upright. And those few seconds shatter everything the show built about who Daemon is. But to understand the weight of that, you need to understand what came before, because this scene isn't powerful on its own. It's powerful because it's the answer to a question the show has been asking since the very first episode. Deep down, what does Daemon Targaryen really want? The show spends 7 episodes convincing you the answer is power, the throne, the crown. And then in episode 8, you find out you were wrong. Daemon and Viserys grew up together. 2 brothers shaped by the same heavy name, the same impossible inheritance. But the throne went to Viserys, and Daemon was left with the shadow, the prince who would always be second. And that created between them a tension the show captures with surgical precision. It's not simple rivalry. It's not clean hatred. It's that thing that only exists between brothers. Love that expresses itself through arguments. Resentment that's really just pain. A distance that kept growing because neither of them knew how to get close without hurting the other. Throughout the season, Daemon humiliates Viserys. Viserys exiles Daemon. The two betray each other, disappoint each other, love each other in a crooked way that's never spoken directly. Every encounter between them carries the weight of decades of unresolved things. And it's within all of that context that episode 8 arrives. Viserys is dying. Not gloriously, he's coming apart. The disease has been consuming the king slowly throughout the entire season, taking a piece at a time. The man who sat on the Iron Throne is reduced to a body that can barely move, with half his face covered by a golden mask to hide what the illness has already taken. When Rhaenyra and Daemon arrive in King's Landing and see the condition of the king, the shock is physical. You feel it in both their expressions. Viserys is in a state nobody expected. Bedridden, destroyed, clearly near the end. But then comes the hearing in the throne room. Vaemon Velaryon is contesting the Driftmark succession, attacking the legitimacy of Rhaenyra's children, and Otto Hightower presides over the session sitting on the Iron Throne as if he's already the real power of the realm, and Rhaenyra is about to lose a crucial political battle. And then, the doors open. There's a specific kind of silence that falls over a room when something unexpected happens. It's not the absence of sound, it's the kind of silence that takes up space, that makes everyone hold their breath at the same time without coordinating. It's the silence that fell over the hall when Viserys walked in, because nobody expected him to show up. The king walks with enormous difficulty, leaning on his cane, wearing his golden mask. Every step is a visible effort. Otto tries to help him and Viserys waves him off. He's going to sit on that throne under his own power, or die trying. The music rises, the room watches, and Viserys climbs the steps of the Iron Throne with a determination that contrasts brutally with the body that can barely hold him up. And then, the crown falls. It slips off Viserys' head and hits the floor of the hall, and in 1 second, without hesitating, without looking sideways to see if anyone is watching, Daemon steps forward, picks up the crown, helps his brother climb the last few steps, and places the crown back on Viserys' head, without a single word. Here's the detail that changes everything. This scene wasn't in the script. The crown really fell during filming. Matt Smith picked it up on instinct, and director Geeta Patel didn't call cut. What you see on screen is an accident that revealed something true about both characters and both actors that no script could have written better. Think about what that gesture means within the logic of the entire show. Daemon started the first episode sitting on that very same throne as if he owned it. Viserys' crown was a symbol of everything Daemon didn't have, everything he resented, all the tension that existed between them. For 7 episodes, the implicit question was, does Daemon want the throne or does he want his brother? And when the crown falls to the floor of the hall in front of the entire court, he doesn't even hesitate. He picks up the crown and places it on his brother's head. There's no more eloquent way to answer a question that went unanswered for 7 episodes. Daemon didn't need a speech, didn't need a confession. The gesture said everything. The crown was never what he really wanted. And Viserys, with the crown back on his head and his brother at his side, sits on the Iron Throne for the last time. Weakened, destroyed, clearly in one of his last moments of clarity, and yet, in that moment, he never looked more like a king. There's something deeply honest about the way the show portrays this. It's not the powerful, invincible king of traditional epic fantasy. It's a man who is literally falling apart, who needed his brother to climb a staircase, who lost his crown in front of the entire court, and who showed up anyway, who used everything he had left to defend his daughter. Paddy Considine delivers a performance that goes beyond any description. You don't watch the series in this scene. You feel the weight of every step he takes. You feel the pain he's ignoring. You feel the sheer willpower holding up a body that should have given up long ago. And Matt Smith, beside him, silent, being exactly what his brother needs without anyone having to ask, delivers the most human moment of his entire performance in the series. It's the kind of scene that reminds you why you care about fiction. Because well-told stories don't exist to distract you, they exist to show you something true about what it means to be human, wrapped in a costume that lets you feel without the defenses you carry in real life. But there's a layer to this scene that goes beyond the two brothers and that elevates the moment from great to something that will live in television's memory for a long time. Throughout the entire season, Viserys was criticized by characters and fans alike for being weak, for being passive, for not acting with the hardness the throne demanded, for trying to keep the peace between people who didn't want peace. He was the king everyone thought wasn't up to the position. Episode 8 is the definitive answer to that criticism, because Viserys, in a condition that anyone else would use as an excuse to stay in bed, drags his destroyed body to the throne room to defend his daughter. Not because it's strategic, not because it's calculated, but because he's her father, and she needs him, and that's enough. And Daemon, the man the entire show presented as the impossible brother, the prince who never accepted his place, the constant threat to Viserys' reign, chooses, in the moment that matters most, to simply be the younger brother placing the crown back on the older one's head. He showed up. That's what the scene is really saying. That in the end, after all the rivalry and resentment and years of distance, what matters is who shows up. And both of them showed up, in the way they knew how, with what they had. That's real writing. That's the kind of storytelling that transforms a fantasy series into art. And the most fascinating part is that the most powerful moment wasn't written by anyone. It happened. The crown fell to the floor. Matt Smith picked it up on instinct, and the camera was there. Art imitated life, imitating art. House of the Dragon has its highs and lows. Season 2 divided opinions. Certain narrative choices worked better than others. But no discussion about the quality of the series can happen without acknowledging what Episode 8 delivered. Not because it's the episode with the most action, not because it has the most impressive dragon or the most epic battle, but because it's the episode where two brothers, in a packed hall, without saying a single word, said everything that needed to be said. Think of someone whose relationship with you was never simple, someone you fought with, drifted away from, built up years of hurt with. Think of the last time you were near that person. Daemon and Viserys are that. And when the camera closes on the Iron Throne with the two brothers side by side, one giving the other the only thing he still could, you understand why television still matters, why stories still matter. But before you go, if the crown fell to the floor right in front of you, would you pick it up or leave it there?